Okay, good evening everybody. My name is Adeke Adebajo and I'm Director of the Center for Conflict Resolution here in Cape Town. And we're very honored here to have two distinguished guests with us. But before I introduce them, I just wanted to, as usual, just make a few housekeeping announcements to make the evening run smoothly. We'd very much like for you, please, to complete the short questionnaires that are on your desk, on your chairs, sorry, and hand them to one of our colleagues before you leave. It helps us to have an idea of how these meetings are being organized and also helps us to improve the service that we provide. So we'd be grateful if you could do that. Our first speaker, and I'll introduce both of them right from the outset so that you don't have to hear me drone on and we can focus on the two substantive people, is the Japanese ambassador to South Africa, Yutaka Yoshizawa. And he's been ambassador of Japan to South Africa since March 2012. He's concurrently accredited to Namibia, Lesotho, and Swaziland as well. As he was posted to Pretoria from 1996 to 1998 as Deputy Chief of Mission of the Embassy. So this is his second tour of duty here, and he knows South Africa very well. The ambassador has almost 40 years of experience in the diplomatic arena. After graduating from the Faculty of Law at the University of Tokyo, he entered Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 1974. He then spent 2 years at Oxford University as part of the ministry's training program. As a diplomat, he served previously in the South Pacific, India, Washington, New York, Chicago, and Beijing. So a seasoned diplomat, as they would say. And his assignments in Japan have also included posts as Director of the Human Rights and Refugee Division of the Foreign Ministry, Cabinet Counselor in charge of drafting legislation for Japan's participation in UN peacekeeping missions, Managing Director for General Affairs for the Japan Foundation, an organization set up for international cultural exchange, and Senior Research Fellow at the Institute of Capital Formation of the Development Bank of Japan. So I want you just to give a round of applause to the Ambassador of Japan. And our second speaker is Professor Scarlett Cornelissen, and she's professor in the Department of Political Science at Stellenbosch University. She specializes in international relations and has conducted research and published on Japan's ties with Africa over the last 16 years. She's been visiting professor at several universities in Japan, and the names are too difficult to pronounce, but they are basically in Kyoto, Tokyo, and Osaka. And she's also guest lectured at a number of other institutions in Japan. In 2009, she was Leverhulme Fellow at the University of Stirling in the UK. And in the same year, she received the President's Award of the National Research Foundation, as well as the Scopus Young Scientist of the Year Award. She was a Japan Foundation Fellow in 2010 and Visiting Research Fellow at the Institute of Developing Economies in Chiba, Japan until March 2013. Her most recent book publications include Africa and International Relations in the 21st Century in 2012, which was co-published with two other colleagues, and the Ashgate Research Companion to Regionalism, 2011, also co-published with two research fellows. We've made available for you two documents. One is from the Japanese embassy, basically giving you a fact sheet of Japan-South Africa relations, and it's the latest fact sheet. So that should be quite interesting to look at. We also have made available copies of a meeting that was held in January, and here our center was involved along with the University of Leeds, and Scarlett was one of those 30 or so people who attended in London, and it was funded by the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA. And it was a policy advisory group in January 2013 looking at how to accelerate this TICAD, the Tokyo International Conference on African Development. We hear a lot about China and FOCAC, and we think it's important also to engage with TICAD as Japan remains a major player in the development field. So since 1993, even before FOCAC was held in China, 4 5-yearly TICAD summits have been held. And on the 1st to the 3rd of June 2013, so in just over 2 weeks, TICAD 5 will take place in Yokohama, Japan, under the broad theme of Transforming Africa for Quality Growth. The meeting that we convened in London, on which this 6-page policy brief was based, basically had Japanese and African policymakers, scholars, civil society, including media, to look at the potential for increasing effective African engagement with Japan, and also to strengthen African ownership of its own development agenda, and to craft concrete recommendations for this conference in order to basically help implement the action plan of 2013 to 2018. So it's a particularly good time now to have this discussion. The South African Minister of Trade and Industry, Rob Davis, will be going to Japan. And the head of state, of course, President Zuma, will be going. And typically about 40 African heads of states or more attend this meeting, as well as others. So I'm not going to say much more than that because I'm not the expert. I want to hand over to the ambassador for 20 minutes and then give Scarlett 20 minutes to talk, and then give the audience a chance to ask their own questions. So welcome everybody, and we look forward to a lively discussion.